So we are going to the next panel, which I'm particularly excited about as well. I've already mentioned it. We need to talk about the social political realities of these technologies, in particular about agency, especially because Web3 is so much about language, about agency for communities that had no agency in the platform capitalist age that we hopefully exit at some point. And for that, we teamed up with a wonderful organization that I encourage you all to follow, Mutual Love. Anuva and Alex will be hosting from Mutual Love this conversation. Unfortunately, one of our participants could not make it, but we still have Lee from Super Rare, Zak from the Queer Museum of Digital Art, Raven from the 50mm Collective, Jack from Polygon, and my colleague and friend Jem from Zora. And they are going to talk about trans and queer and cultural and economic ecosystems on chain. So I think we're good to go live. And I'll just hand over the microphone and the video space to Anuva and Alex and all the participants. Please enjoy, friends.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? I'm excited to be here.
Hey,
so let's kick it off.
Let's do this. Thanks, everyone. Hey, everyone. My name is Anuva Kalawar. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm in New York City. I'm the co-founder of Mutual Love, the NFT marketplace and Web3 ecosystem centering and celebrating trans and queer creators and culture makers and participating in mutual aid and generational wealth building. I'm also a painter, curator, occasional DJ, and digital community equity activist. We are so excited to be here today representing Mutual Love. Thank you, Zora and ETH Global, for having us at Metabolism this year. And thank you to this incredible, brilliant group of trans and queer Web3 visionary leaders for making the time to be in conversation today. We are so grateful to know you and to be building alongside all of you.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. My name is Alex Guerra. I use he, him pronouns, and I live in Austin, Texas. I am one of the co-founders of Mutual Love as well, as a content creator and community builder. As a trans man myself, I'm super excited to be here having this conversation with other trans and queer people in the Web3 space. It is much needed and very refreshing. So we're going to start out with some introductions from our amazing panelists here, starting with Lee, then Zak, Raven, Jack, and then Jem. If y'all could just start with names, intros, pronouns, creative curatorial practice, and what you do in Web3. So I'll pass it off to Lee.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with everyone and sharing in this very queer, happy space within Web3. It's so exciting. It tickles me fancy. But so like said, Lee Knight, I use they, them pronouns. I was with the I was working as the technical community manager for Super Rare. Now that's kind of transitioned more into DEI initiatives within the Super Rare space. And then also I do a lot with ETH Denver. And so I've been working on that and building that out as well. So if you're coming to ETH Denver, please let me know and we can get things happening. Yeah, I've been in the space since 2017. And so just trying to make the world a better place for artists.
Thanks so much, Lee. Hi, my name is Zak Krevitt. I originally entered the Web3 space as an artist. My pronouns are they, them. I'm located in Brooklyn, New York. So I have been a photographer for years and years and years, was just really dissatisfied with the traditional gallery space. And when I found Web3, I just had so much more power and control over my work there. Originally started as a photographer, but have transitioned into working a lot with AI really heavily. Throughout that sort of journey, I kind of just noticed that there really wasn't a lot of representation for queer and trans creators, institutions kind of holding them up. So I, along with some of my friends in the space, founded the Queer Museum of Digital Art, QMODA, which is essentially a preservation effort, collecting work, preserving work, long-term, permanently, and displaying it and uplifting queer artists in the space. So we're really a group dedicated to hyping up and collecting from queer and trans artists. And it's been a journey. Thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, thank you so much, first and foremost, for your time and energy. And thank you, Alex and Anuva, for this opportunity, as well as Youth Global. My name is Raven Trammell, aka Raven 50mm. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a photographer and community builder out based in Los Angeles. And aside from my artistry, building the 50mm collective with Chelsea Quintella, our co-founder and an incredible artist in her own right, has been a major focus currently within my journey in the NFT space. Last year, I did a lot of experimenting with minting my photography, and towards the end of last year, really leaned into the 50mm collective, which is an NFT art collective founded by BIPOC LGBTQIA artists who are dedicated to providing resources and opportunities to historically underrepresented communities. We believe diversity and inclusion should be the forefront of Web3 as it is a global market. And we also believe that being an artist for a living shouldn't be some unobtainable dream. And our goal is to fuse together culture, community, and curation to further uplift and enrich the global art world. And so, yes, that's a bit about myself and the collective. And thank you all again for having me here.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm so honored to have been asked to speak at this panel. It's really important. My name is Jack. I use she, her pronouns. I am based here in Los Angeles. During my day, I work at Polygon. I'm the community development manager there at Polygon, so I oversee the ecosystem of the blockchain. And the real work, the real fun work that I really enjoy is all of my artistic practices that NFTs and crypto have kind of found this beautiful outlet for, and this really deep work. So I'm a dancer, and I work with a motion capture project that'll be bringing that data information to blockchain, which is really exciting. Go to market soon, so more about that later. And then the other initiative that I work for is I'm also a musician, and I work for an extension of a Web3 of a record label, a Web3 extension of a record label that already exists here in Los Angeles, and its core root is uplifting underrepresented genres and people. So really finding the outlets for some of these expressions that don't normally get uplifted, and by people that are historically underrepresented in this space. So that's kind of the work that I'm doing as well.
It's me. Hi, I'm Jem, and my pronouns are she or they. I'm a singer-songwriter, generative artist, and full-stack creative technologist. And I also work at Zora doing developer relations. I guess the thing that I'm stuck on is, as a technologist, having access to a medium that is essentially forever. And I think that is just such a powerful concept to be playing with when we consider queer and trans and other marginalized voices. So I'm just so excited to be working on technology with other people who really seem to be building a primitive but extremely long-term meaningful storytelling.
Amazing. What a great note to end on. Segues perfectly into the first question. So thank you all for sharing a little bit about yourselves, and we'll just get right into it. Just broadly for our audience, we're going to touch on archives, building community first, and gate breaking on chain today with these leaders and creators. We're just going to let the conversation flow with these three questions. So I'm going to kick it off. A lot of our intention at Mutual is informed by the concept of archiving and instigating trans and queer cultural and economic equity and legacy on the future of the internet. The concept of archives in trans and queer communities is nuanced. Many histories have been suppressed by non-binary forces, but trans and queer creators have been around impacting culture since the beginning of time. We are ancient and sacred beings. We archive in community, in creative practice, in incredible, multifaceted, and multicultural legacies. In a world of surveillance, sensors, and shadow bans, in a future impacted by automation, metaverse tech, and more, how does building on chain shift the concept of the queer archive from your unique perspective? And how does that inform your practice as a creator and contributor in Web3? We would love to start this convo off with Zach from Kimoda.
Sure. So this is something that is completely central to our project. In a lot of my work sort of before this and now still during was with AIDS activism. And when you work in AIDS activism, what you hear over and over and over again is how much was lost. The people, of course, tragically, but their artwork, right? Their creation, their music. So much of that was lost. There was an effort at the time when people would pass for friends and family members to preserve the work. Sometimes that work would be donated to various galleries or museums. It was safe for a time. You know, what we've heard from from artists involved in this process and from these institutions is that they are no longer really safeguarding these works. A lot of the works are ending up out on the street because either the institution has changed their minds as to the value of the work, or they no longer have room to store the work, or whatever the reason may be. It's just not a permanent and safe solution. So with that in mind, that was really central to creating a permanent archive on chain. You know, even long after I am here, right, there will still be this blockchain record of these works, who it's by, when it was made, what mediums are in there. And I think that is so important. It's something that is really unique to the space. You know, we've seen how vulnerable artwork is to time. And we've seen legacies lost. We've seen creativity lost. We've seen culture destroyed in this sense. So yeah, so for me, this on-chain aspect is everything. I mean, that was what really kind of gave us the you know, the courage to do something like this, because if it wasn't for on-chain technology, blockchain technology, there's no way I could store all these works or guarantee that I wouldn't move in some time and I'd have to deal with like where they go safely. You know, are they being damaged by weather or by, you know, mold or even these kinds of things, or whether someone's just going to put them out on the street. So yeah, it is central to what we're building, and I think is really central to preserving the legacy of trans and queer people globally.
Yeah, if I can chime in for a hot second. Yeah, I mean, I think that like absolutely, I'm in complete agreement with what Zach has just said, and he, you know, was very well put. But I think that even like on a grander scale, or let me back up. Before I became a software engineer, I double majored in art history and music, and I'm a trombonist and an electronic musician, and you know, I'm touring and playing and all that stuff. And so you know, people come to town. They call me up. Hey, you want to sit in with us? Hey, we're in town, we're recording. You want to record with us? Like, I have been screwed out of like so much, not even talking about royalties, just credit to be able to say, this is what I did, and to be able to prove that. And I mean, just why is it so hard to just get your name added at the end of the discography? And so with that in mind, with Web3, with being able to preserve what you have contributed to. Like one of the first projects that I was contributing to when I first joined the Web3 space was Ujo. And you know, it was fantastic to be able to see everyone who was responsible for getting a track developed, and being able to even see like the royalty splits of how that broke down. It's just, you know, it gave me hope for artists and musicians, but I just throw them all into the category of artists. It's giving me further hope for artists in the future to be able to preserve what you have spent. You know, I started playing trombone when I was 10, and like I've spent so much time mastering that craft, but like nobody really, unless you are a musician, nobody really understands what it takes to be able to be skilled at what you're doing. They just think like, oh, you're just a musician, you can show up, you can just do this thing, here's $20, call it good at the end of the day. I'm like, bro, like to be able to play this like little thing that like, you know, sit in yeah, you play some air trumpet, and you want me to figure it out. You know, that took me 20 years to be able to do that. You know, it's not, sure, you only see the front end of that because, you know, I'm a skilled musician and it looks easy, but, you know, that took time and practice, and to be able to preserve that, and then, you know, to be able to demonstrate what your history is without worrying about it being misconstrued or just like simply just taken off, is what Web3 is able to offer in ways that Web2 is so limited and is so just stuck in the past. And so, you know, this ultimately, it's just so much more hope is now accessible for preserving the integrity and the work that musicians and artists have, you know, spent so much, shed tears and blood over to accomplish. And you know, being able to share that just like with a click of a button. So.
I'll add on to that because I'm a musician as well, and I definitely know people do not understand that you know, what you're seeing is like the culmination of these 20 years. This 5 minutes that I totally killed it is 20 years of practice, you know, to be able to do that. It's also the same with dancers. I recently hosted a panel with Polygon, and I showcased one of my dancer friends, and people were very blown away by the fact that you could put dance NFTs on the internet. But it was a way to capture value. It's a way for people who have never been able to capture any value to find this value. Going back to like the concept of the archive. Here in Los Angeles at USC, there is a queer and gay archive at USC called One Archive. So I went there, and it's only one type of person, which is like the stereotypical like Tom of Finland, like white gay man from the certain era. There was one little corner of lesbians, and I was like, this is not enough. This is not enough. This is not enough representation. This is not intersectional at all. Fortunately, I was there because a friend of mine was showing and displaying and pointing that fact out. And the show is called The Invisible Archives by Prima Janakandra Sakuntapai, who is a non-binary performative lecturist and sculpturist. Going back again to the archive, they had to have all of this permission to do all of this work at USC, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, Web3 enables you to do this all permissionlessly, which is the hugest like paradigm shift that we've ever seen. We've always had to ask for permission. We've always had to fight just to express ourselves even visually. It's exhausting. And so Web3 is this like almost like this outlet, like all of these songs that I've sat on, all of this work that I've sat on, that I've been waiting for a gallery. I don't have to wait anymore. I can just put it out on the marketplace. So that is where the equity of the technology comes into play for me.
And if I can touch one more time on the Queer Archive, I think that it is so important for our histories. I mean, like, if you kind of go back, so I'm also a bull rider, and so like I compete in Western sports, and so America thinks that bull riders, that cowboys are blonde hair, blue eyes, and like everything has been written out in terms of, you know, Black cowboys, rancheros, like all of this has just been completely erased to fulfill what Hollywood has deemed attractive. And so with these archives, you can preserve these histories in ways that well, two things: you can preserve it in ways that you haven't been able to do it before, but then secondly, you have the opportunity to preserve it and to share it. And so I think that's like one of the bigger things, is like getting more people into this space so that we have another chance to write histories in ways that are actually authentic and more meaningful, but then we know that they will be preserved. And so, it's just building up our community with other like-minded individuals so that it doesn't happen again. Like, we have the opportunity to actually progress and not be stuck in the trends of what has historically happened in the world.
Amazing. Cool. Raven, Jen, do you want to add anything? If not, we can move on to the next question that kind of segues into.
Yeah, I do want to, I just really loved what Lee just said about how important this opportunity is. And I feel like that's like what I personally stress the most is, as a trans man, as a Black trans man in America, like this is really our shot. Like a lot of historically underrepresented communities have been just pushed aside and kind of honestly forgotten and not considered. And this is within this space, you're able to create the opportunities for yourself and for your communities, you're able to, with those opportunities, empower people, and that creates hope, and hope is unmatched, like that fuels you, and that motivates you to keep on going. So it's so important, and I just have to like shout out each and every one of us who are here in this space as people who, are usually an afterthought. We're here every day and like doing what needs to be done to enrich our communities. And it is a constant grind, but I just have to acknowledge that and just say, like, I'm proud of all of us, like we're really here, doing what needs to be done. And shout out to all of y'all for that. So thank you.
That was so beautiful, Raven. I guess like the thing that I want to add to that is that, as a species, like we're animals that tell stories, right? That's kind of who we are. And so our mythologies carry us. And I think, I muted myself. In the past, we've seen what happens when specific political groups ban books and try to erase history. And I think honestly, I think we're seeing maybe like some of that energy coming back into the world. And I think that's scary, but we need these stories to prevail. And it's not just queer stories, but I think queer stories have been so often left out of this. But, I think what the blockchain offers is the chance to preserve stories of hope and of optimism and of like utopian visions to carry us through whatever kind of period we might be coming into in history. And I think it's quite special to know that whatever lies ahead, the hope and the optimism that we can encode into the blockchain are books that can't be burnt. And I think that's just a really powerful concept.
Amazing. I'm just in awe of everybody here. So thank you for sharing just beautiful words and wisdom. Amazing. So, speaking of, communities and all of that, we're super dedicated to building community first at Mutual Love. And it's something that we've both been doing in our careers in general. So it comes very naturally. And we think of the blockchain as a tool to reflect the already existing queer and trans ecosystem and further amplify and connect communities that are underpaid or even underbanked. Mutual aid is part of these ecosystems, and blockchain can be a tool to build generational equity and access across borders. So from your perspective, how can building on-chain solutions effectively amplify trans and queer creator and cultural economies? And I think we'll start with Raven here.
All right. I'm sorry, can you repeat the last part of the question for me, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So just, from your perspective, how can building on-chain solutions effectively amplify the trans and queer economies that I guess already exists, and how can blockchain kind of just amplify that, like mutual aid, equity and all that stuff that we are so often looking for as a community.
Okay, thank you. I think we touched on it. I'm not quite sure who it was earlier, but talking about all of this ecosystem being permissionless and us being in control of the ways in which we want to use all of these really powerful tools, such as blockchain, such as NFTs, social tokens. And I think as artists and as already creative beings, we're able to really use these tools in creative ways to not only onboard, but also encourage our communities. For example, with 50mm Collective, we have a 50mm social token. So with every ReadyWare purchase, each consumer earns 10 50mm tokens. And with those tokens, we'll have a marketplace built out and only sell things on that marketplace for 50mm tokens. And you can earn tokens from participating in Twitter spaces or being in the Discord. It's not always about who has the most money or who can collect all these NFTs to unlock this other thing over here or whatever. It's more about, okay, who are the community members who really see the vision and want to contribute to helping build the vision. And those are the contributors who are rewarded with social tokens, and therefore can, who know that the social token aspect, there's a lot of possibilities within this, Web3 space in general, but so with social tokens, I just feel I had an example of like the OVO Fest tickets were like, I don't even know, like $2,000. I don't remember how much they were. They're so crazy expensive though. But I just threw out an example of like, if Drake had an OVO social token where his fans got, X amount for downloading his album, listening to tracks, for buying merch, whatever, and then they could contribute some of those tokens to the sale of those tickets rather than selling their computers or doing wild things to get that ticket money. That's just like, one example of how this ecosystem can be equitable for a larger, a broader audience and broader community.
So there are also, parts of the world where being a part of the queer community, being represented at any sort of, queer capacity is very illegal. And so there are so many, just like a very simple, basic example is, trying to create some sort of queer alliance or community in one of these places where it is illegal and you need funding. And if you cannot create a bank account affiliated with the actual name of what you're doing because it is illegal, and then it could be tracked and you are blocked before you can even start. And so by being able to utilize any of on-chain marketplaces or any like anybody can send you funds and you don't have to lie about it. Just simply straightforward, like here it is, and these funds are accessible. Unlike, you know, applying for a bank account, then needing to be approved for your bank account, and then how are you going to actually extract those funds and all of that. Just like very simply being able to receive financial support in other ways, where in other situations where if you're going the traditional route, you would be blocked before you could even start or even to, you know, make your case. And so there are, you know, from a foundational level of being able to start your organization, Web3 offers a solution.
Yeah, and I think that we're also getting to kind of the heart of the problem, which is like that conversion. You know, I think that on-chain solutions are amazing, but I think that if we're talking about underbanked or unbaked people, until there is a system for housing and food, you know, common goods that will accept these on-chain tokens, be they ETH or Polygon or a social token from a group. I think until we reach that point, I think it's going to be really hard to have these on-chain solutions go as far as they really need to go to truly solve this problem. So I think that, you know, there really needs to be some incredible minds out there, and I think people are working on this, but I don't think we've really quite solved it yet. That would really address housing first and foremost, and allow these interactions and these accumulation of tokens, whether it be from you know, actions like Raven mentioned or from selling NFTs, to go directly into food and housing. So I think that we have a long way to go, but I think that there are some really incredible people working on this problem. You know, and or banking systems that can guarantee privacy and safety to queer and trans people, that will allow this sort of system to happen to extract those funds. You know, love it or hate it, we just saw what happened with Tornado Cash. And you know, there's a clear kind of crackdown on financial privacy happening. And that was really a big setback. You know, Tornado Cash is obviously rife with its own problems, but it did ensure a certain amount of safety for the types of people that Lee are talking about and the situations are talking about. So privacy tools and mass adoption for common goods, I think, really needs to happen for on-chain solutions to truly empower our communities.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the bigger thing, like none of this is going to happen unless we get more people. Like with mass adoption is like the first step, and then we're actually probably like education, but then mass adoption. And so like we all need each other. We all need to share with each other and support each other. And then I think and you know, if you're creating a DAO, like actually use your DAO properly. It's not just a buzzword. Like there are actual components to it that officially make it a DAO, and how you operate, and like actually, you know, needing quorum to, you know, move a proposal. But I think that, again, these like foundational elements to create a future that will be more sustainable and safer for individuals within the queer community are accessible, but we need that education to onboard people and mass adoption so that it is a viable, so that people don't think that it's not a viable option for, you know, transferring funds or ideas or projects. I mean, if you can think it, you can make it. And so we just need everybody, like, it's just a little bit of Kool-Aid, drink it, it's fine. So join us. Come hither.
Love that. Jack, did you want to speak? Okay, sorry.
Sure. Oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah, I just unmuted. Yeah, no, I think it comes down to like, if you make a space that is hospitable to our concerns and to our perspectives, and that where they have space to live and be heard and be seen, that's really going to draw a lot more people to the space as well. Beyond being like educated and beyond finding this place of belonging, it's also just holding space. And I would say, like, in order for the community to embrace this technology more, I think we can just all embrace our own queerness more and really dive into like what makes us safe and what makes us feel good, and really find moments to showcase those attributes in the community, because I think we're all sort of in agreement that values alignment is much more important than any sort of other like facet that may come up that may be in alignment. Because if your values are aligned, then everything else can fall into place. But going back to how this on-chain building can change the way that we show up in these spaces, it goes back to the permissionlessness and the immutability of these archives, of these records. So just keep making that beautiful, queer, welcoming space, and we'll just have more to add to the archives because of it.
Thank you. We have about 14 minutes left. Jem, did you want to say anything about this topic before we move on to our last couple questions?
Feel pretty good on that last one.
Okay, awesome. So as we've talked about what, hope and optimism and embedding our values and our cultural alignments, and on chain also accessibility and education and storytelling has come up. So we talk a lot about accessibility and gate breaking at Mutual Love. And like many of you have noted, a lot of the concepts in Web3 are fairly inaccessible. Onboarding is also a very broad term. There's community building, storytelling, UX, there's content, bridge applications, etc. So we would love to hear, from your perspective, what actual accessible onboarding looks like for the global LGBTQ community, or even the local communities that you are part of from your perspective. And one tip you'd give to a queer trans creator or contributor entering Web3 in the audience today. I would love to start with Jack for this question.
Sure. I think we have to be very mindful of intersectionality. I think that's the only way forward, and the only way that we can really truly understand the perspectives globally is by listening to the people who are living those experiences directly. So I find that, embrace your queerness, create this beautiful queer space, but also, ensure that you are honoring where people are coming from and making space for that as well. So that I do see as sort of like a core nugget of how we will onboard the masses, educate the masses, really just build community. It's really just building community, because once everyone's on the same page, then you really can go very far, and then you have other stewards of the community to spread that great word as well. So really just creating space and creating a welcoming environment is really going to take us so much further than anyone else, and I'm totally convinced of that, because this is our chance. Like Raven said, like this is our chance, this is our moment, and as artists and as queer folk, we're not going to let that just slip away. We'll fight for it. That's all I have to say about mass adoption.
I think my tip would be, take a holistic approach to your education. It's not just learning about smart contracts or just learning about this one thing or that one thing, but you really have to, at least in the beginning, kind of be a, have a really holistic approach, So I would say, study marketing, study smart contracts, study social media, study community management. Like, I think taking at least a dip into all of those topics will serve you a lot more than just focusing on one in particular. I think that's what's missing in a lot of Web3 education, is that there's education for, okay, how to write a smart contract, but then, okay, maybe you've written your smart contract and you want to sell some of your artwork, but then you're sort of lost when it comes to marketing. So yeah, just really kind of embracing all different aspects, so that you can be, community is incredible, but at the same time, there's so much power to be found in being able to cover all these aspects, and then linking up with other community members that are also kind of talented in a lot of different places.
I think where I would add to that is, for everyone involved, like, let's be really conscious of what we're onboarding people to and what types of tools that we're recommending people use. I realize that as a newcomer to this space, sometimes, there is a lot of jargon and it's being thrown around, and sometimes it's hard to figure out the differences between different platforms and stuff. But in general, I feel like if someone is trying to sell you something, they're lying to you. If someone is making you certain promises, they might be lying to you. All I can say is I try and trust in decentralized and permissionless tools. I try and trust in systems that don't have gatekeepers, even if there are experienced people around to help you learn. That should always be entirely democratized. So, you know, I guess at this point, like, I kind of have to plug Zora, because I feel like that's what we're trying to do, is just give people access to the best tools that we are making for ourselves, and hoping you vibe with those. But we're not trying to sell you anything, and we're not trying to sell you on anything other than giving you the tools to succeed based on, honestly, like, based on the spirit of your own work. And I think that is the magic that people always bring to the space, no matter how experienced they are in Web3 or in crypto. Like, there is some unique magic that is inside everyone. And I think that's the thing that we're excited about seeing. And these are just like these are the technical tools to help people out.
And to piggyback off of what Jem just said, you know, the unique magic that you have within yourself, right? And if you're new to Web3 space, I think a lot of the tools can seem very, very daunting and surprising. And then you think that your magic is not as magical as you once thought it is. It still is. And that's okay. You're learning something. That's, I mean, if you were brilliant at it, like you showed up and you're like, I know everything, then why aren't you running the world? But so, like, aside from that, like, it's okay to be in that place where you need help, and it's okay to ask for help. And so, like, one of the things that I would do at ETH Denver is I put together a number of talks to help people get into the space. And you know, the general term of, you know, onboarding, like, these are people who don't have wallets, don't have any crypto. Like, so walk them through the process, walk them through adding tokens to their wallet so that they have some foundational rinsing of what it is to be within the space, and then dropping them some crypto so that they can interact in the space. It's, you know, it's like one thing, like, hey, go get set up, get your wallet going. Good luck to you. See you at this conference. Make sure you're in the hackathon. It's like, that's a lot. That's a big, very big ask. And so, you know, be willing to share what you have learned. I'm not saying give all your time, but if you can, share so that people can learn and ask questions. That's how I got into the space. A friend took me out to brunch, and we went through everything step by step by step. And then before I knew it, now I'm like helping out run ETH Denver. And then secondly, the biggest tip that I have, do what makes you feel good. Do what excites you, because if you're excited about what you're doing, then you're willing to do the work to figure out the components of what you're interested in operates, you know? And so, like, hey, you want to create an NFT, but you know nothing about blockchain, but you're an artist? Okay, start creating your work. How do I get this on the blockchain? Oh, I need a wallet. How do, like all these pieces will come into play, that, and you will have, you know, that your route will be laid out for you on how to understand what you need by following what interests you. So if you're excited about something, follow it.
Love that. Raven, we have like a minute.
Okay.
But I want to give you the floor. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my tip would be to just be intentional with where you're placing your energy within various communities and things like that. It can be the space can be a lot. There's a lot of information. There's a lot going on. It's very fast. Give yourself some grace to, like Lee said, ask the questions. It's okay that's like encouraged here. People are hype when people don't know things, and they can be like, oh, well, here's how, you know, I can help you, or here's this information. And definitely tap in with the 50mm Collective. I've made a handful of YouTube videos of foundational tips that I wish I knew when I got into this space. How to set up a MetaMask. We have a MetaMask tutorial, and also a tutorial on how to get 50mm social tokens in your wallet. So finding different resources like that provided by communities that have a trustworthy reputation within the NFT space, I think is where I'll leave it. But just I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, and just like speaking with so many amazing people. Like Alex, you said your mind was blown. I'm over here just like, Man, what? Now I gotta say something. Like, no, just think. I'm so grateful. Thank y'all.
Oh, I feel the same way, but thank you for that. Oh, okay, we're getting updates. We have another 5 minutes, folks. Look at that. Awesome. Cool. But yeah, thank you all. I guess we weren't gonna have time to do this, but now we can. Would love to pass it around. I think Raven just did a little bit of this, but you know, just anything you want to plug before we sign off. Would love to give each person like just a quick minute, if you want, and then we'll kind of make room for the next group of panelists.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start. I talk too much. I'm sorry, but one thing that, as I mentioned before, like I'm a part of ETH Denver, and I have been since the first ETH Denver, and every year it gets bigger and better, and we are able to divert more and more to our DEI initiatives as well. So I would love, reach out to me on Twitter. You can find me. It's a cool breeze, but it's AKEWL breeze. So it shows how old I am because of the weird spelling. But anyway, and so like reach out to me if you have questions, if you're confused. Like I mean, my time is limited, so if I don't get back to you immediately, but know that I will. And I mean, I think that's what you need to do in this space is like, feel free, reach out, ask people. And so join me at ETH Denver. You don't know how to get involved in ETH Denver? I'll explain it to you. You want to get involved in the hackathon, but you don't have a technical background? That's okay. There are other ways that you can contribute. There are so many ways that you can contribute in the Web3 space, but the ball is in your court to ask how. So please ask, reach out to me.
Awesome. Okay, I think the other group is here. I just want to, anybody else, just like a quick 30 seconds.
I'll jump in. Yeah, we're excited at Zora, we're excited to support creators of all different types. If you're an artist looking to, really dip your toes into the space for the first time, please come along to Zoratopia events. That's a great onboarding resource. And then for more kind of engineering gleaning questions, come over to, follow around with what we're doing. Zora Engineering on Twitter. Come to, I guess you're at our hackathon. Keep it, you're doing great. Everyone is doing really great. Keep doing exactly what you're doing because you're at our events. So thank you.
Amazing, amazing. All right, everybody. I just want to say thank you one more time. That was just such a hopeful, inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for being with us today, Zach, Jem, Lee, Raven, and Jack. Make sure to check out their projects, which we will share on our Twitter feed post panel. Make sure to follow us at mutual2_love and at www.mutual.love. Yeah, we're also fundraising for our mirrors, so check that out. Thanks again to everybody for being here and making this possible. And thank you to Zora and ETH Global for this opportunity. So we will see y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.